The last time you saw her, she was sitting on the steps of a subway station, wrapped in an old blanket, her eyes lost in a vacant stare. The sign on her cardboard box read, "Please help." Yet, once upon a time, those hands wrote scripts for multi-million-dollar films. She walked the most prestigious streets of Manhattan and dined at the most luxurious restaurants. Her name was Olivia Rhodes. Her life was once a tapestry of glamour, woven with the bright lights of the Academy Awards. So how did those brilliant lights go out? And how did Olivia fall into the cruel darkness of the streets? The truly astonishing thing is that what drove her to this life wasn't addiction or bankruptcy, but a story more complex and tragic than any she ever wrote. Are you curious about the great secret that turned Olivia's life upside down? The answer is something you could never guess. Olivia's life was every young writer's dream. In her late 20s, her very first screenplay became a box office hit and earned her critical acclaim. Overnight, she took New York by storm. Her luxurious Tribeca apartment with its glass walls offered a view of the entire city skyline at her feet. At night, the thousands of lights illuminating the city served as her inspiration. She wore the most expensive designer clothes and traveled in chauffeured cars. Her meetings were filled with the most famous producers and studio executives. The industry called her the Golden Pen. With every line she wrote, every dialogue she crafted, she created a new world. But many of those worlds were just empty stories, molded by commercial pressures. With every new project, Olivia's soul felt a little more hollow. Trapped among the towering buildings, she felt that dazzling yet suffocating life begin to choke her. One day, returning from a promotional meeting for her latest film, her manager tried to convince her to take on a new project. The film was about the life of Arthur Sterling, the city's largest real estate investor. According to her manager, this project would win her an Oscar. Olivia began to research, poring over all the necessary documents and personal files. Arthur Sterling was known as an honest and respectable businessman, but as she delved deeper into the files, questions began to appear in Olivia's mind. What kind of terrifying secrets were hidden in those documents? What do you think will be the most shocking discovery? Olivia found major discrepancies in Sterling's company's financial reports. Then, she noticed a confidential file containing a list of people. These were innocent investors whom Sterling had defrauded, taking their money and leaving them homeless. Some had even committed suicide. Olivia knew that a story this real and this painful couldn't be used for a film script. This wasn't just a story, it was a bloody crime. The pen trembled in her hand. Her conscience wouldn't allow her to ignore this truth. On one side was her brilliant career. On the other were the ruined lives of innocent people. Olivia took a copy of the documents and left the office, unseen. Her goal was to turn the documents over to the police. But she knew how dangerous and ruthless Arthur Sterling was. If she were to face his wrath, her life could be ruined. Should she ignore this secret to save her own life, or do the right thing and ensure justice was served? This moral dilemma haunted her for hours, and in the end, she decided to listen to her heart. The next morning, her manager called. "Olivia, where are you?" "We're waiting for you at Sterling's office," he said. Olivia hung up the phone. She walked through the crowded streets of Manhattan like a ghost. She threw her bag, once filled with million-dollar contracts, into a trash can. Her ID, her credit cards, all her cash. She left everything behind. From that moment on, she was no longer the Golden Pen, Olivia Rhodes. She was just a nameless, faceless person. Her goal was to escape Sterling's wrath and one day expose his crimes. But how easy was it to escape, and what hardships awaited her on the road? The first few days were a nightmare. She didn't have a single cent. As she passed the windows of the luxurious boutiques she used to shop at, she felt the pitying stares of the people inside. She tried to sleep in a park. She shivered from the cold. All night long, she was left alone with the city's endless roar. The same Olivia who once ate the finest steaks was now rummaging through garbage for leftover food. The city had become alien to her. The colossal city that was once her home now felt like a prison. One evening, as she sat in the waiting room of Grand Central Terminal, an elderly woman sat next to her. She was wearing a tattered coat. Her name was Clara. Clara was once a university professor of literature, but had fallen on hard times due to an illness. She knew the rules of the streets. She knew which shelter was safer to sleep in, which church served a warmer soup. Clara understood Olivia immediately. She saw that she was not a street person, that she was foreign to this life. A strange bond formed between them. Clara approached Olivia with a mother's compassion. She gave her a bowl of hot soup and taught her the most fundamental lessons of street life. What secret did Clara tell Olivia that helped her survive? Olivia and Clara quickly became like family. Maria, an elderly animal rescue volunteer, and Aishi, a young refugee girl, joined them. Their stories were similar to Olivia's. They had all fled the cruelty of life, seeking a way out in the labyrinthine streets of this city. Together, they discovered the unseen face of New York. From the tourist-filled glitter of Times Square to the abandoned buildings in the back alleys of Brooklyn. For them, the greatest luxury was to huddle together on a cold night, share warmth, and tell stories. These stories nourished Olivia's soul. She watched the life struggles of these women like a documentary and took notes. Their tears, laughter, and hopes were the most valuable material for any script. Olivia's escape ended at a women's shelter. For the first time in a while, her life had some order. She could find a warm bowl of soup every morning and sleep in a clean bed. She was trying to adjust to her new life. One day, she saw her former manager on television in a news report. He was talking about the great success of a new film. The film's title was The Sterling Affair. The story was about Arthur Sterling's corruption and the unnamed hero who exposed him. Olivia realized that the film's plot was her own story, but the hero in the film was an entirely different screenwriter. Olivia was frozen in front of the television. She knew who had written the screenplay. Her closest friend, a colleague from the same studio. The person she trusted the most. Olivia had been betrayed by the person closest to her. Her friend had stolen the information she had gathered on Sterling and sold it as her own script. In fact, it was her friend who had convinced her to leave everything behind, closing off her path back home. This way, she would be the sole owner of the story. What do you think Olivia felt when she learned this bitter truth? Olivia felt the coldness of betrayal to her core. It wasn't a film producer's threat that had driven her to the streets, but the knife in her back from a person she trusted. For days, weeks, maybe even months, she had suffered on the streets, while her closest friend was making millions from her story. She was a victim in a revenge thriller. Olivia could have gone to the police to seek justice. She could have told them everything. But who would believe her? A woman with no ID, no home, an invisible woman. Maybe they wouldn't believe her, or maybe her friend would make her out to be a liar. Olivia once fought for justice, but now she understood that justice was also just a game for those who had money. One night, Olivia was sitting alone in the shelter's yard. Her eyes were filled with tears. She had seen how her own life script had been written by others, and how the ending had been cruelly edited. That night, Olivia's spirit died once more with this painful realization. The next morning, the shelter staff noticed that Olivia was missing. No one ever saw her again. Not in that park, not at that subway station, and not on any street in New York. She had truly become a ghost. Her story turned into a whispered legend in the grey alleys of New York. She had written the most tragic script of her life, and this script had no happy ending, no triumph. Do you think Olivia took her revenge on those who stole her story? Perhaps by disappearing silently, by becoming a ghost that would haunt their conscience forever, was the ultimate revenge.